Thierry Henry suggests there was one Arsenal player who was even better than Declan Rice versus Real Madrid. Thierry Henry suggests there was one Arsenal player who was even better than Declan Rice versus Real Madrid. Declan Rice was the star of the show for Arsenal in their 3-0 win against Real Madrid, scoring a brace of free kicks to produce one of the most memorable performances from an English player in Champions League history. Arsenal have plenty of outstanding midfielders such as Patrick Vieira, Cesc Fabregas, and Emmanuel Petit to have donned the iconic red and white strip, but it is worth questioning whether they have a display as impactful as the England internationals in Europe. Regardless of whether the answer is yes or no, Thierry Henry's praise for Rice against Real Madrid was deserved, as the Frenchman rightly pinpointed that he was a man possessed in his left-sided attacking midfield role. But after Arsenal beat Real Madrid in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinal, Henry pinpointed how influential Bukayo Saka was on the night. Thierry Henry hints Bukayo Saka was Arsenal's star man versus Real Madrid. Saka is Thierry Henry's favorite player, and the former Arsenal striker was quick to point out that while Declan Rice came up trumps, it was the 23-year-old who ran the show against Real Madrid. Henry explained that Saka won both the free kicks that Rice eventually scored, and the way he drove with the ball and prompted the Real Madrid's players to foul him made him Arsenal's difference maker. On CBS Sports, Thierry Henry said, "Declan Rice came big on the 2 free kicks, but ultimately, for me, as I said, Bukayo Saka created everything. The 2 fouls were on him. Every time taking the ball, running past 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 players to go inside and get the free kicks." What Declan Rice said about Bukayo Saka's display after Arsenal vs Real Madrid. Thierry Henry revealed he hugely respects Saka due to his rise to the top at Arsenal, and against Real Madrid, what was clear to see is that he is right up there amongst the best players in the world. Rice was full of praise for his Gunners teammate while speaking to CBS Sports after his cracking performance on Tuesday night. "Look, to come back in the time he has is unbelievable. He's unreal. He's a top guy. We need to be ready next week because the Bernabeu, we know what it's like to play there. He, Mikel Merino, can obviously tell you what it's like." Ian Wright says one of Declan Rice's Arsenal teammates showed extreme quality against Real Madrid. Arsenal fans are in dreamland in wake of their incredible 3-0 win over Real Madrid in Tuesday night's Champions League quarterfinal first leg. The Gunners were up against one of the biggest clubs in the world, not to mention the reigning Champions League holders, and some fans were nervous about how things would pan out. However, Arsenal ended up putting Real Madrid to the sword, with Declan Rice scoring 2 wonderful hat-tricks and Mikel Merino wrapping up the scoring with a superb finish. Arsenal legend Ian Wright has now spoken about one of Rice's teammates who showed extreme quality in Tuesday night's clash at the Emirates Stadium. Ian Wright says Mikel Merino goal was one of the best finishes you'll ever see from a player who's not a striker by trade. Wright, speaking on the Wrighty's House podcast, admitted he loved Merino's goal, deeming it one of the best finishes from a player who isn't a striker by trade. The Highbury legend spoke of how cleanly Merino caught the ball and curled it so expertly into the side netting against a goalkeeper the size of Thibaut Courtois. "Yes, this is the best, one of the best finishes you'll ever see Howe in the box from a player that's supposedly not a center forward," said Wright. Everything what he'd done about that goal was extreme quality. The thing with it is that once it came into him, and again, what you have to appreciate is the weight of the pass into him by Miles Lewis-Skelly is perfect. Obviously, Merino's coming backwards, knowing that the ball's coming with the right amount of pace. The goalkeeper has to because the ball's coming across. He has to go into the middle of his goal. So to catch it going backwards so cleanly and putting it back where it's come from into the side netting with a goalkeeper the size of Courtois, honestly, this is why I was so pleased Alan Shearer was on last night, because Shearer was saying, that is an unbelievable finish. You know, it's an unbelievable finish. The way he executed that, it was so good. Meanwhile, Owen Hargreaves said Dennis Bergkamp and Thierry Henry would have been proud of Merino's goal. He's very intelligent and he loves the game, and he loves to understand the game and the reason why we have certain players to do what we want them to do.